Today we're visiting a home that combines two of my absolute favorite things, tiny houses and natural building techniques. We're in Hamilton, New Zealand to visit Everett, a young builder who really has done something pretty unique. G'day Everett.
Good to see you, Brian.
Good to see you, mate. And it's fantastic to see your tiny house now all finished.
Yeah, it's good.
So you've been working on this one for quite a while and it's a really unique and interesting project. Tell me first a little bit about why you actually decided to build a tiny house on wheels.
So I always wanted to build my own house, and then I had just started a building apprenticeship, so I was in my first year, and so I just really wanted to increase my skill base. Originally I wanted to build my own straw bale house, but then I really started learning about tiny houses and got really excited, and so I really wanted to try and incorporate as much natural building and environmentally friendly and healthy materials as I could. And the last thing was I had a long going bet that I would own my own house before I was 22, debt free, not including land. And this was one way I could actually fast track it. I figured I probably couldn't build a straw bale house in that time, so here we are, and I don't think I need anything bigger. You know, the first time I saw a tiny house on wheels, it was like, of course. And it was just that wanting to own my own house, and there coming the opportunity that I could actually do it. Not 20 years down the track, not 10 years down the track, but now. And I jumped at it, and I don't regret a second.
And did you finish this house before you were 22?
Not quite, eh? I was 22. I was 22 and a half.
Hey, that's close enough.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I was so terrible, 22 and a half. But it was cool though, and it was a lot of fun and a lot of help.
It does look a little bit higher than I'm used to.
Yeah, it's class 1 oversized. There's quite a bit of difficulty trying to move it. So I wouldn't suggest it for everyone, but for this house it was fantastic, especially for our height.
So how big is this tiny house?
The trailer's 8 meters by 2.5.
Yeah, and with the oversized, you've built to what height in the end?
To 4.6 meters.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so the standard is 4.2.
And so you've used a lot of really interesting reclaimed materials in this home, haven't you?
I do. It's almost everything you see is some form of recycled, I built, or is secondhand. With a few exceptions in terms of hardware and fittings.
I really like what you've done here with these rain barrels for water collection.
I picked them up when I was on Waikiki Island doing a wine tour with my mother, and we travelled the island together to all the wineries, and I came back with that and she came back with wine.
Well, I think you got the better end of that deal, actually.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really love about the style of this house is the natural timber and all of the use of those materials that you can see used here. Like, for example, I love these copper soakers.
With copper, you don't have to do anything to it. So copper is just very durable, and it will just maintain for a long time. It will oxide and just live there for hundreds of years. And then this timber here, it's called macacarpa, is just very durable. A farm was selling up and I could buy a whole bunch of pieces of timber, and I bought everything, took it to a sawmill, and then made all these weatherboards and then worked my way through it. It was a really nice way to do it, from like timber to house.
Now you mentioned that you wanted to build a straw bale house or an earth house.
Yes.
And obviously a tiny house on wheels makes that kind of dream very, very difficult because those materials don't work on the road.
They do not, they don't.
But you have still incorporated some earth building principles in the construction of this home, haven't you?
Yes, a lot of passive solar and a lot of natural plasters and Tadlac in the bathroom, which is really cool. Natural plastering techniques.
Well, natural plasters and Tadlac are two things that I never thought that I would see inside a tiny house.
Yeah, for good reason.
Probably for good reason, but I am really intrigued to see what it looks like. Can we have a look?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. This really feels like walking into an earthen home.
Yeah, it's amazing the feel you get when you work into an earthen or naturally constructed house. And I didn't know if I could replicate it because it doesn't have everything, but just the plaster alone made a big difference.
So how did you actually achieve this look in the home?
Framed it normal with timber frame, and then along all the walls I actually stretched carpet back to front and then plastered it, and that's how I got the textured look, if you see, as it undulates all the way through.
So there's actually just carpet behind this?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow.
Just with a carpet stretcher. It's a really good, easy way to get curves, because it's really hard to get curves with with timber unless you get bendy ply.
And performance-wise in a tiny house, obviously this is not a home which is designed to be moved often. But in terms of the natural plaster, how does that stand up to being moved?
Not good, eh? So I've moved it twice and not far, and each time it's got cracks. It's beautiful, but it doesn't fit tiny houses in a way. So I wouldn't suggest it unless you were really keen or really knew what you're doing.
So you've got the carpet which is stretched across all of your studs and the timber work, and then how do you actually create the lime plaster and fix it to the carpet?
Yeah, so there's a lot of plastering techniques that go into it. You have to make lime plaster, which is a combination of an aggregate, a binder, and shrink thinning, so normally fibrous or something. For mine, it was mostly a 1:2 ratio, so 1 lime, 2 crushed limestone, which is a very lime heavy mix because of the amount of flex that was going on with the walls.
And I love so many of the features that you've built into this, like this incredible LED light window up here.
Yeah, it's lovely. It feels a bit like a church because of the ceiling and all the beautiful windows we've got in the house.
It really does. So tell me about the design and layout of this tiny house. Obviously we are in your living room right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So living room, staircase to the loft, table, kitchen, and a bathroom under it. And I ended up, for some weird reason, my criteria was I needed to wear a top hat in the kitchen. So I got it.
Do you still have your building top hat with you?
We're not here, but I still have my top hat, yeah.
Okay. I'm amazed it's not sort of framed under there somewhere.
Yeah, that would be nice, eh?
Yeah.
I should do that.
Nice little shelf ornament.
You're giving me ideas.
Now the stairs are really unique. You've managed to put a lot of storage in there, but it's still quite an open design, isn't it?
Yeah, so as with many things around my house, mostly I managed to get materials and then try to figure out how can I use these. So I had a chance to buy a bowling alley. So
you bought a bowling alley?
I did.
Right.
Yeah, so you'll see it quite a bit. So you'll see it on the staircase and the bench. It's really nice. It makes great for stairs, You can use your high heels. Well, please don't.
It's all right. I didn't take them with me anyway.
Cool.
So what part of a bowling alley did these come out of then? Is that...
Yeah.
That's literally like the floor of the bowling alley where you're rolling balls
you're rolling
on?
it. You're rolling it, but this way. So
right.
you're rolling it that way. And if you can see, some points they had bolts that I had to remove, which I replaced with greenstone, which is
beautiful.
Which is nice. So there's a few of them dotted around.
And while we're over here in the kitchen now, again, I really like this design. It's super open, but you've got enough storage and lots going on in here.
And it's tall enough for you guys.
And it really is tall enough. I mean, it's very unusual for me to have this much head height. I could wear a top hat under here as well.
Exactly.
Because obviously you've used a lot of really nice reclaimed and recycled materials in this as well.
Everything. So, draws out of a house that's getting demoed, removes all stuff I've collected over houses I've demolished over the years, and then these are from a house that was getting renovated. And just everything is things like that. There's a story behind every last object in the house. I can go on for a while, but I don't think you want me to. In New Zealand, we have a lot of these really beautiful native woods. Things like rimu and kauri that you cannot get anymore, that they take 400 years to mature. And once you cut it down, you're not going to have another tree there for centuries. And with all the old houses in New Zealand are all built out of those. So you have a great opportunity. If you can recycle and reuse, you're stopping things going around for you're environmentally friendly, but you're also getting things you could never buy new. There's things in the house that are beautiful. I would gawk at the price if I saw how much it would cost to buy it new. But it was only possible because everything was reclaimed and recycled. The real benefit of recycling is to do things you could not do otherwise.
One of the things that I notice is that so much of the woodwork is beautifully carved as well. Is this all your work, or did it come like this?
We made it. So I say we because I didn't do it by myself. All of this was done by a traveling craftsman called Thomas, who came here and stayed here for 3 weeks and taught me fine carpentry, which was really, really cool. So we did that, or he did most of it, and then we continued a lot of the carving throughout the rest of the house.
And then behind us here we've got the bathroom.
Yeah, welcome to my bathroom.
Now this bathroom is just so unique. I love seeing the Tadalect on the walls. It's such a rare feature again for a tiny house. Can you tell me a little bit about what goes into creating a Tadillac wall and why it's suitable for a bathroom?
So the Tadillac makes a great natural plaster for bathrooms because it's really easy to clean. You do your natural plaster, your lime plaster, and then you can react it with olive soap. And it makes a chemical reaction which makes it completely like water impervious and very, very smooth. Then all you have to do is spend hours upon hours polishing. So make sure you've got friends and just feed them well.
Yeah. Because that really is the thing with Tadillac Day. It's beautiful, but incredibly labor intensive to accomplish.
Yes, I gave myself one long weekend to do the whole bathroom.
So you've even actually Tadillac'd inside your shower and even right up into the dome, which is quite beautiful, eh? It gives it a really great look.
They'll just continue that thing of like making everything. So just, that's an old Tadillac dish cut up to fit my shower. And then just, really, really good strong mesh between it all to hold the plaster so it doesn't bake at joins. And then, you're good to go.
And so in this room, you've got the composting toilet. How are you finding that?
No, fantastic. Haven't any problems at all. Everyone says this, but they're great.
And I see in this house as well, you're using a heat recovery ventilation system.
Yeah, I'm a massive believer in MA. I think it's a really good way to do it. The power input to the heat recovery you can get is astronomical.
So what have you done in here for your electrical systems, plumbing, all that sort of thing?
I plugged into mains, yeah.
Yeah, but then all of the electronics in here are running off 12 volts.
As much as it can, so all the fans, the heat recovery and the lights, but there's still just normal AC plugs.
And then what about water here?
I rely off water from the house, the main house, so we've got a community out back, and so water just comes in through a hose.
And then above us right now is the sleeping loft.
Yes.
Should we check that out?
Yes, do you want to go first?
After you.
All right, thank you.
One of the things that's really clever about the design of this house is how you've done the lighting. Because it's all this beautiful indirect lighting that's done in LED strips and hidden behind these wood features.
And it works really well with the natural plasters. Because they've got these undulating walls, you can really see a pattern in the walls and it looks beautiful. And it's actually really easy to do and really cheap.
You have poured so much of your own labor into this build, as well as being incredibly thrifty with the sourcing of the materials for the project. Do you have an estimate of the cost of this tiny house?
Yes. So despite all of that, it still ended up costing about $40,000. I know it looks amazing, but a lot of the money goes into things you can't see. So there's the best insulation I could afford. There's vapor membranes in the inside that's got really good quality. Building paper and products, and then there's things like composting toilets and kitchen doesn't decrease no matter what you do, and there's things like that.
$40,000 for any home built in New Zealand is a really good result.
Yes.
And as you say, the second that you start using things like passive house technology membranes, Lunos heat recovery ventilation systems, all that stuff significantly puts up the cost of the home, but it drastically increases the livability and performance of the home.
Massively. That's my main advice to anyone who talks to me about building their own house, is spend the money on your things you can't see.
So how long have you actually been living in the house now?
On and off for a couple of years, though at the beginning I wasn't really done while I was living in it.
This tiny house, what does it mean to you?
Well, family, friends. I could not have done this by myself. The amount of support I had from my wonderful family, from my wonderful friends, from the wonderful, helpex that I've had along the way. It's incredible, and I couldn't have done it by myself. If I had to do it by myself, well, I'd still be working on it. It's all been an amazing journey, and it's been great. When I asked for help, my friends were there, and they were really supportive right to the end. So I'm in my early 20s, and I've got my own house. I'm at a stage that instead of renting for the next 10, 20 years, I already have the house. That not all the money that would have gone into rent just goes into a bit for land and then saving up for property, to save up for a piece of land that I can put the house on. And that's a great situation to be when you're 23.
One of the things that I really love about this tiny house is that you just haven't been afraid to do things a bit differently. The natural wall systems that you've used with the lime plaster, the way that you've run the lighting, the recycled and reclaimed materials, it's just all come together to form a very beautiful building. Thank you so much for sharing your home with me.
Yes, thank you. No worries, Bas.
Everett set himself a task of being a young homeowner, and with this tiny house on wheels, that is exactly what he's accomplished. I am so intrigued with the very unique materials and build methods that have been used in constructing this home on wheels that actually feels more like an earth house. It really is something a bit different.